Welcome everybody. I really appreciate you coming out today. This is the official launch event for ACT, Awaken Canada Together. And this year's program is bringing awareness to Canada and the problem that we have with traumatic brain injuries. It's a simple fact, and it's a scary fact, that in the next hour during this presentation, there will be 6 brain injuries registered in Canada. That's 1 every 10 minutes. And those are the only ones that are registered. Another fact is that there are more deaths from youth under the age of 20 than all other causes of youth death combined, which means this is one of the biggest killers of youth in our country. And it's not getting huge awareness in the media. It's kind of brushed by, and it's one of our most serious killers. I call it one of our sort of secret killers. And the goal for ACT is to awaken Canada together regarding this challenge, but to bring education and awareness to everybody, how they can prevent injuries from happening, and how they can look at holistic treatments for a stronger and better recovery, a faster recovery. Now, one of the major side effects that at least 80% of traumatic brain injury victims have is having depression, anxiety, sometimes even suicidal tendencies. This can be caused from all sorts of things, but I'm going to let the experts that we have here today touch on some of those topics. The reason I started this program is because I started taking a course at Landmark. It's a self-development organization, and there's actually hundreds of thousands of different projects like this out there in the world today because of people that have taken this self-expression and leadership program that I'm currently in. And it was basically the vehicle they gave us to be able to learn how to be more self-expressed and to be a leader in a community level, where I chose St. Michael's Hospital, where I had some contacts with Dr. Cusimano and Dr. Bellarau and some of the staff here, and they have the common interest, sharing education about prevention and treatment of traumatic brain injury. And the vehicle that they gave us was a community project, so that I could learn these different techniques. And the cool part is, it was just supposed to be this event today, and then it started to grow. And as people got involved, and I got people like Daniel Bax here, who suffered from a really traumatic brain injury and from a motorcycle accident. He's going to share his story with you later. He got so inspired, and he did this Landmark course a few years ago in 2011. He wanted to do a ride, run, and roll for traumatic brain injury awareness. That never really came to fruition, but when he heard about my project, he got so inspired and enrolled and registered that he said, let's do the ride too. So today we're announcing that in May 2015, Daniel Bax and Anya Sinica is going to be riding their bicycles, not just across Canada, but going from capital city to capital city, from the west coast to the east coast. It could be up to a 4-month journey. They've started mapping out the routes so far, but we've still got a lot of time between now and then where they're going to iron out all those details. And our goal is that we take a prevention and awareness educational event like this to the most popular traumatic brain injury treatment facility hospital in each capital city. And that we're going to attract the modalities and experts and doctors and professionals from each of those cities to come out and share the stage, just like we're having them share the stage today. So my goal is, by the end of today, that everyone who's attended the event is going to learn a little bit more about traumatic brain injury and acquired brain injury and different head injuries as concussions and such, and that there's inspirational possibility for recovery. That's what I would really like to do. And I'd also like to add a few minutes between those registered traumatic brain injuries that we have. If we've got 1 every 10 minutes, imagine a campaign like this could cause enough awareness in Canada that there's only 1 registered every 20 minutes. That means we'd be saving approximately 25,000 people for a year from this kind of injury. And I think that's a really good cause. It also costs Canada approximately $1 billion or more than $1 billion a year to take care of people that have had TBIs in their lives. And that's a huge cost to our economic system as well. So there's so many perspectives about traumatic brain injury that affects us that I just want us all to be aware of. The times that we hear about brain injuries in Canada and the United States mostly is when a famous athlete gets hit. And, and it's in the news because they got a concussion on the ice, or in the football game they were unconscious or something like that. It also happens in rugby and basketball. It happens in almost all sports, even riding my mountain bike, like when I got my TBI when I was 24 years old. And I'm still suffering from side effects from that 12 years later. So by bringing this awareness to coaches at the athletic professional level, to coaches in schools, universities, colleges, elementary, not to push children or players to the point where they're playing with concussion, that alone is going to save a lot. But one of the biggest causes for brain injury is actually motor vehicle accidents. Whether it's a motorcycle, a car, or a truck, or whatnot, it's people getting in car accidents and whacking their head too. So it's really a diverse and broad perspective that we've got to look at this from. And the more people we reach, the more possibility of reaching leaders in the different sectors of this that are affected that we can influence and cause a chain reaction. Let's go viral with this awareness. So again, I really want to thank you for showing up today and helping us with this launch. You being here, you are already bringing power to us to fuel this effort, because going across Canada and taking this journey is not going to be done by one person. And the willpower and the belief and the support of every one of you thinking about this, talking about this, sharing it online is what's going to help make it a reality. So again, thank you. I was really lucky to start working with Dr. Cusimano, who's a neurosurgeon here at St. Michael's Hospital last year during a Heads Up conference. They've been holding it for several years, and it's an awareness program that they run in a conference. It's really good for medical students, doctors, and athletes, and the general public to attend to get this more awareness. But their day is more specific to the scientific research and results, and the PhDs and the doctors that have really studied this for a long time. And it's a little bit technical at times. Today is more about a holistic view of it. So we're going to have 3 parts. It sounds like a long day from 12 to 4, but we're going to make it fly along pretty fast. The first 90 minutes is going to be inspiration, and we're going to share recovery stories that are inspiring and a little bit enlightening. And hopefully those of you, that if there's anybody in the audience, could you show by a sign of hands who's had a TBI, like any kind of head injury? Okay, so we've got about a quarter of the audience with head injury experience. So I hope that you take away something from this. You're going to get some tidbits of knowledge, but the inspiration from the recovery stories that you hear to maybe empower you to share any of the situation that you're in with people in your community, your family, your friends, your doctors, and start to seek out alternatives to treatment that you may become aware of today. That's going to be very, very, very amazing. So that's inspiration. Then we're going to have a short break, and then some nice munchies are going to come out and such, and you can socialize a bit, have a bathroom break. And after that, we're going to be going and getting into the wisdom part of the day. So that's where we're going to have some doctors and PhDs and holistic and homeopathic and nutritionalists and all sorts of different variety, like a really broad scope of the different kind of people that can help you recover from a brain injury. And that's where you're going to get some real information that could be applied in your life, especially if you've had an accident or if you're living with anybody or in relationships with somebody that's had a head injury. And considering that one happens every 6 minutes or 10 minutes, you probably know somebody. So if you could refer them to actnow.to, it's www.actnow.to. That's where you're going to be able to share your story. We posted a page there where you can submit your story through a form or ask questions. Make them feel free to ask questions, and we're going to pass those on to the different experts that we know to be able to get answers and post those back on the site. So hopefully it becomes a resource online where Canada can go and learn more about this easily and effectively. So Dr. Cusimano, I brought him up momentarily a second ago, and he really wanted to be here. But he is so busy. He's had thousands of people come across his table, his operating table. And I heard that he's even done brain surgery through the nasal cavity instead of having to cut the skull open and operate on the brain. And he's really passionate about preventing as many of these as possible. He looks back at and traces back to where the accident happened, and by a simple thing, it could have been avoided altogether. And he is so passionate about this message getting out that the day we had the shoot, the surgery that he was in was going over. It was supposed to be a 4-hour surgery, I think, and he was in there for 7.5 hours already, probably another few more hours to go, and nobody let us know that he was stuck in surgery, and we had all the cameras and we had all the lights and everything set up to go, and he was so committed, he caused a break, and they took a break from that surgery so he could come and do the video and then go right back to that surgery. That's how committed he was. It was just amazing. So I'm going to play that short 4-minute video so you can hear from Dr. Cusimano about what he sees as the potential with ACT and working with his organization.
My experience as a neurosurgeon, every day I see people who have suffered injuries to the brain and spinal cord. And in every one of those cases, it's a tragic event. Some people fortunately recover, but others aren't so fortunate. A lot of people end up dying or their lives are changed forever. And many times when we look back at the events that led to it, there's something that we could pick out that could have prevented that and could have let the person live a very normal life. I'm also inspired by the recoveries that people make and the inner strength that people have to recover from it, and the things that they tell me about preventing it from other people happening. So it's my personal experience with thousands of people who have suffered brain injuries that led me to start to say we need to do something more than just try to patch people up. We need to try to prevent these things. We need to understand why they happen. We need to find out better treatments for these things when they do happen, because they are going to happen, and we need to find the best way to treat them and to get people back to as full a life as possible. So that's really the basis of the research and the office that we have here at St. Michael's Hospital on the prevention of injuries, and specifically the prevention of brain injuries. I think not a day goes past without something in the media about some sort of brain injury, especially in sports. And I think the general public is becoming more and more aware that these are a problem. And what we need to do now is get people into action. They need to act to try to do something about this now. Now that people know about it, we need to get people to start doing things about it in their own way, in their own community, all across the country. So Daniel's sharing his story with everyone in the country, and certainly I want to encourage others who have had brain injuries to share their own stories, because I think by sharing our stories, we get out of that isolation that we have, that we're maybe the only person who's suffered something like this, but we also give strength to others, not only to recover and to live most fully with their brain injury, but we also encourage others to take action to prevent these things from happening. So when they hear stories, that actually touches a chord in them. And we need to encourage people who have had brain injuries, however mild to however severe, to come out and tell their stories and share with each other. I think that's critically important. To learn more about this campaign, visit actnow.to.
This is a copy of my book for you, The Life of Your Choice, moving from oh no to oh wow. It's a story of how I recovered after having a massive head injury, and then it's also a workbook how people can adopt the teachings that I learned and the lessons I learned to their life so they can become stronger and heal faster. And here's a copy of that for you.
Okay, well thank you very much, Daniel. I appreciate it. You're a great inspiration to you, your family, to me, to everybody out there. And it's just fantastic to see how well you're doing and what you're doing to make a difference in the world. It's so critically important, and it inspires me to keep doing what I do, and it should be an inspiration to everyone around Canada who hear about what's going to be happening.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations and good work.
actnow.to. Awaken Canada together. Yes.
Wow, making that video and shooting it really got to me. It made this real. And I'm hoping that we have tons more videos coming out in the future. And I'd love to get video stories from people all across the country eventually. I'm also very excited about the documentary that they've started working on here at St. Michael's. I believe they have a whole ton of athletes that have suffered from concussion sharing their story. And part of this awareness campaign is fundraising, and we're looking to attract some corporate sponsors to be able to buy some of Daniel's books, and the proceeds of that are going to go towards finishing the documentary, doing the ride across Canada for the awareness, and whatever's left over we can put into the research and stuff, so we can keep that going and that department going that Dr. Cusimano's currently founding. So now we're going to get some action happening into this. And believe it or not, Daniel Bax in 2005 had the left half of his body paralyzed from his head injury and his motorcycle accident. He couldn't even move a toe when he first came out of the coma. And through really inspirational recovery, this guy has probably become more fit than most average people that have never had an accident in their life. And it just shows that impossible is really I am possible. And he built this apparatus here so he could do a bit of a crazy 3-minute physical demonstration that's hopefully going to be extremely inspiring for people. I know that he's inspired me. I've got a reconstructed elbow from my traumatic injury, and I couldn't really do more than 2 or 3 push-ups. I couldn't even do 1 chin-up. And when this cause started on April 1st, I lost 20 pounds by doing a detox under some coaching from Daniel here. And then I started working out every day. And I'm actually up to 4 chin-ups, and after he does his demonstration, which will make your jaws drop, I want you to root me on, and I'm going to try to do 5 chin-ups for the first time in my whole life. Okay? So I want you to give me a round of applause and bring Daniel up here and get him charged up to do this crazy physical. So you go at it, man. You got 3 minutes to blow these guys apart, and I'm just going to make funny comments while you're working out. How's that sound? Good?
Do that well.
I do that well? Thank you.
Yes, yes. I was just ordered by the Majesty. I had the strip.
Like this guy, could you imagine? You saw the pictures of how shriveled up he was, and he was like 95 pounds? Look at this guy. Anything is possible.
I just need to hold the other side.
You want me to hold it? All right.
So it is, my left side was so atrophied, I had a challenge even holding a glass of water with my arm going like this and just shaking all over the place. And it was so skinny. It was like you hold my arm up, you just see bone, like skin on bone. That's it. My muscles are all gone. So I figured I gotta do something to strengthen this machine.
Wow. Good way to get color in your face, too.
It does. It works. The red really comes out well.
Those ones look easy. I don't know. Wow. With the legs up, that makes it a little bit different too. Trust me on that one. I've been working on it.
Well, this one here is fun because this is where the core strength comes in.
That's crazy. It doesn't, he makes it look easy, but these things are like really challenging to do what he's doing. And to see where he went from, you know, I don't care how old you are, how young or old or middle, you know what, doing some exercise, it makes a huge difference. For me, I have not been having the kind of sort of waves of anxiety and depression I used to get since I started exercising. I don't know the technical reason, but this guy has a huge smile on his face every day. I think it has something to do with being like working out like this every day.
All the drugs they gave me.
Those ones are crazy. When you have your hands down here doing those, like. Wow. Wow. Okay. Oh, he is human. See, he's not a robot. I didn't actually just make him out of metal scraps before he came here. But, Daniel, that blows my mind.
It's a little hot in here.
Thank you so much for showing that. That was just like, wow, brother. Ow. Okay. Now I'm going to make you look bad now. I'm going to...
Room number 5, guys.
No. Actually, I've got more scars than Daniel. I didn't share most of this, but I spent the first 2.5 years of my life in the hospital because of something called Hirschsprung's. And I had over 500 stitches of scar tissue along my stomach here. So my core is very weak as well. So doing a chin-up like this, it takes more than just the arms. It takes the shoulders and the core muscles. It's really quite crazy. Oh, my good old friend Hilton. Thanks for joining us. I needed you here. I need everybody here to cheer me on to do 5 chin-ups for the first time in my life. All right? Okay. I didn't do it on a dress shirt either before, but here we go. I don't know, if you guys want to count along with me, so I'm not going to have much blood left in my brain. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This way. Yes! I tried. I thought I would get there today. Oh, man. Oh, well.
Is it hot in here?
It's hot. It's definitely hot now. 4.5? I'll do the other half later. Just don't tell anybody. Oh, my goodness. Okay, to get myself back and grounded here and catch my breath. All right. Well, as I promised, that the first part of today was about inspiration. And I want to kick it off with my own story. It'll warm you up for the story that Daniel has. His is just, people come to tears when they hear his story. Mine, like Daniel's, was similar because it was caused from ego. Ego is that side of us that says, you're not good enough. They're going to make fun of you. You know, do it or you're going to look bad. And I was out riding my mountain bike with some friends that I was always trying to keep up with. They were extreme mountain bikers. We used to ride 20 minutes up a hill, puke at the top, and ride down in 2 minutes, that kind of thing. And it was back when I was 24 years old, and my friends sort of peer pressured me to go riding downtown instead of out in the woods, and to do that same kind of wild stuff on cement instead of the dirt. And we thought it'd be a really fun idea to race our bikes down the lanes on the staircase by the Sky Dome or the Rogers Center. There's actually 5 stories worth of stairs there with metal rings in between. So here I am riding my mountain bike with the wrong shoes on and not even properly equipped, a little half helmet that wasn't even a full helmet that you're supposed to wear, like the ones they have today that truly protect your head. And we went down the first time, and I was going so fast, on the last plateau, I jumped 1 story. And I landed, and I wobbled, and I got that adrenaline rush. And I ended up racing back up with the guys to the top of the staircase. And this time, as we rolled up to the edge and they said, go, I stopped. I actually went up on my front wheel a bit, and I heard something say, if you do it again, you're going to get hurt. And I said, wow, those guys are going to make fun of me that I'm a chicken for not doing it and not keeping up with them. So I pedaled my bike in a circle, sort of building up the guts, or the stupidity, whatever one you look at, to go. And no, going to get hurt, no, do it, no. And I did this 3 times, and I didn't realize that the momentum I picked up those 3 times was much faster the first time I went. And I just said, screw it, do it. and I raced down the stairs. And at the first plateau, 4 stories up, I lost control of the bike, and I jumped 4 stories. And everything went slow motion. And I saw my bike crushing the future fatherhood I could have when I hit the bottom. So I tossed the bike. And all of a sudden I finally said, oh, now I'm doing the Superman into cement, 4 stories in the air. And I went, and I said, my face is going to hit first. So I went like this, and I ended up putting my elbow in front of me, and I went through my elbow. I made my elbow joint explode, basically. And I still hit my head so hard that the sunglasses got pushed into my skull, and I landed somehow, rolled to the bottom, and luckily my neck wasn't broken. I stood up, and I pulled off my helmet, and I pulled off my glasses, and everything went red because blood went in my eyes. And then my friends were looking at me going, and at my arm, and it was like this big with stuff sticking, and they were just like, dude, your arm's done. And luckily, the security was about to come and kick us out, so they were so close. They had the emergency people show up quickly. I didn't know my name. I hit my head so hard. I didn't really know much, but I guess I was telling jokes, and I still knew English, luckily, unlike Daniel. And I saw like a halo above the bald black man that was taking care of me. All I remember about him, and it's like he had this aura around him. Everything was filled with energy and stuff. It was awesome. I really came close to checking out there. And luckily, they got me to the hospital quickly. But most of the focus was on my elbow being exploded like that. And they put a temp cast on it. Still didn't know who I was. And I didn't know who I was until my mother came in the hospital and she said my name. And I said, that's who I am. But that hit in the head wasn't even really observed or looked at. It was all about the elbow. And they told me that I'd only have maybe 60% chance of having, or 60% use of my arm again, because the nerves and all that were separated. And I had to relearn how my brain would move my arm again. And very similar to Daniel, it was about moving energy in my body and understanding energy and visualization and mindset and listening to my higher self and believing in that. And as I was sitting there, I started learning how to do websites for the first time. I was making it with one hand, and I heard that voice say, you know what, pretend that your left arm can move. And I put it up on the keyboard, and I pretended that I was typing with my left hand as well until I was able to move a finger again. And then after I moved that finger, I was able to move my other finger, and I kept going. And the thing that really shocked the doctors was how quickly I did recover from it. When they did my 30-day checkup of mobility, I had a huge recovery. Like, they were shocked at it. He actually brought another doctor in that never saw me before to give another look at it. But it was really a lot to do with the nutrition I was eating during that time, the love I was receiving from my family. And my mom does Reiki, actually, which is a form of energy healing work. Thank you. We got technical difficulties. And that energy healing, she did at Reiki on me 30 minutes a day, twice a day. And as soon as I learned how to close my hand, I was holding the dog leash, and I had a golden retriever. And it's like he sensed I was in pain and I was in recovery. And he only gave me enough pull that I could handle. So between all of that and working with the great doctors at the hospital and using this holistic sort of perspective and open-mindedness and belief that I said, thank you for sharing, I'm going to get full use of my arm back. And I do. I can literally do push-ups now, I can do chin-ups, and I can do intricate work with my hands. And you'd never even guess that I had an elbow rebuilt or that my brain had to recalibrate and do that. Before I invite Daniel up here just to wrap up, I just want to share, again, my personal story and my biggest side effect. I guess it is some memory issues and having the issue of like hearing somebody say something. If somebody dictates a phone number or an email or their name to me, I have to ask them to slow down and say it very slowly because I'm much more visual now than I am with like auditory response. Also, and remembering somebody's name unless they're part of my life on a daily basis, that gets very difficult for me. And there's days, especially in the first 5 years after the accident, where I was just hit with intense anxiety or depression, like locked up. I knew there were all these things I had to do, but it was like procrastination on steroids. I just wouldn't act on it. It even affected me last year when I was working on the Heads Up conference and I was doing video work for them and whatnot, and I was starting to have troubles with my business, and this depression hit me, and it was like I wasn't good enough, this like I can't do it sort of attitude hit me, and it even delayed me getting the video production done for a couple months. That was a big challenge. And these are like mild cases that I'm explaining. Other people get to the point where they're getting to suicidal thoughts and tendencies. And that's a really invisible pain that people live with after they've hit their head. And if anybody here has ever hit their head, and Lawrence here has 2 young kids, always put on your bike helmets, okay? Or if you're skateboarding or snowboarding or riding a bike or riding rollerblades, make sure you put it on properly, you know, around the ear, it's tight enough so you only get 2 fingers in there, and be really aware and conscious. And be aware of your surroundings, be aware of that. And when you're driving, you know, pay attention. Being late for a meeting, stop, make a phone call, you know, and tell them you're going to be 15 minutes late instead of driving so fast. Now, these are just little tidbits that people take for granted, but it could save your life or stop you from having a wicked brain injury. So that's my story, and that was just an appetizer compared to the one you're about to hear from Daniel. Now, you know what? I have Daniel's bio written here, but I've been working with him full-time for 6 months, so I could literally say it. This man was told he'd never walk again, talk again, eat solid foods unassisted again, or remember anything prior to his accident. His accident was so intense that literally he shriveled up like that picture in the video there, and most people probably thought he would never get out of bed again. And a lot of people that were in the hospital with him during recovery weren't using the same mindset, spiritual connection, nutrition, and alternative modalities, and working with psychiatrists and the surgeons all in harmony. And they were there long after he moved on. So that's where he was. He had 2 thriving businesses. He got into this motorcycle accident, totally stopped his life from what it was, lost connection to the loved one in his life, the friends in his life, the family he was starting, and you know, and it's just amazing to see where he's come. Now, this man is starting to coach others. We want to inspire, and we've started talking about, and we're hoping to do a study here with some of the doctors and researchers to show, you know, a group of people that have had brain injuries and go through just traditional treatments, and then to go through with some of his coaching and tapping into a whole range of modalities that work in harmony together to help initiate a more inspiring recovery. And to see if that's actually true and factual. Let's get some science behind it, that it's not just the traditional modalities. And another thing that I really am excited about Daniel doing in the coming months is starting an empowerment group. So you've got all these sort of support groups out there, and if you've got any kind of experience with a head injury, wouldn't it be nice to come out, instead of hearing sob stories and failures all around the place, a place that could be safe to ask questions and to share wins and to share secrets that people have learned or discovered on how they made greater steps towards recovery and rehabilitation. So Daniel, I want to invite you up to share your story. You can really go through, and I'm excited that he's going to share a little bit about the accident himself, but he's going to focus on the step-by-step process and path he took to get to where he is today. And I want to thank you for sharing that with everybody. Thank you, Daniel.